Now, the Prime Minister has defended the budget, saying it's necessary to have some workers pay more tax to pay for schools and the NHS.
But is that message hitting home? We've been out with the Bank of Dave's, Dave Fishwick in Colne in Lancashire, to find out what the people there think. And before we speak to him, here's what they had to say about the two-child limit on benefits.
They've got rid of the two-child benefit cap. What's your thoughts on that?
Instead of keep giving some families money, which we don't think always goes on the children, it should be given to them in other ways. Free school meals, clothing vouchers again.
I can't say I'm particularly in agreement with lifting the two-child cap. I'd leave it as it was.
At the end of the day, you have children when you can afford to have children, not for other people to pay for them, and so I don't agree.
Now, scrapping the two-child limit on benefits was a big one for helping people in poverty, but you think there's another key measure that they didn't do, right?
I mean, there's lots of things they didn't do, but there's some wonderful things that they did. But scrapping the two-child benefit was definitely a good thing. I mean, feeding children who are hungry, whatever the parents are doing, it's down to the children. And I remember meeting Sir Simon, a knighted of the realm, Conservative, and he said to me, look, Dave, he said, it isn't the government's job to feed starving children. And I said, well, why not? You know, if kids are
Who's
starving...
Simon? Sorry, Dave.
Sir Simon Clarke.
Sir Simon Clarke, yes.
Yes.
Not everybody is in with these people.
Yes, I seem to be meeting lots
of
of them these days.
Yeah.
So Sir Simon Clarke told me he didn't think it was government's job to feed starving children. So I said to him, what about your expenses?
Yeah.
You know, the Conservative Party's expenses. Do you get paid by the taxpayer to eat? Oh, yes, he said. I said, well, that's bonkers, you know, if you're not prepared to feed the children. So what the Labour government are doing, they're paying 75% of the breakfast club. Right. I went to see Darren Jones yesterday, the Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister. I was invited down to Parliament, myself and Jonathan Hinder, the MP from Colne. And I said to him, I said, one of the things is I'd love to see the extra 25% paid. I pay for a local school the extra 25%. I've seen what it differs. I got a letter from them saying that some of the children are coming to school hungry. They can't afford to feed them all because they only get 75% of the money. It should be 100%. We're talking about small amounts of money making a huge difference. Yeah. So that's one thing they should do.
And Darren Jones, of course, now a Chief Secretary of the Prime Minister, former Chief Secretary of the Treasury, on our programme talking about the budget. Did he listen to you at all about your thoughts on the budget?
He was wonderful. He genuinely was wonderful. He sat with me for an hour. He invited me down to listen to the point of view from the north. And he also took a letter from us. GMB, myself, Carl Hemp and Kate Hemingway have done a massive project on loan sharks, as you're probably aware, as I've been coming and telling you about it. And there's some things that need changing. And lowering the amounts of prison these people are getting was no good. You know, you can actually get more prison for dumping litter than you can for loan sharking. So he's going to look at that. He's also going to lift the amount of money that it has to be when it goes into regulatory territory. So the letter...
He's going to do that?
He's actually going to do that. So Good Morning Britain's team, everybody here, has made a difference to a huge amount of people's lives.
And it's
Wonderful.
great to see young people be able to go to school and eat. You know, friends of mine that are teachers and run skills will tell you that's the huge problem and a barrier to learning. Dave Fishwick, I wonder if you can help us with this. You know, you've been a very successful man, and one of the things presumably you'd want is to create a whole load of other Dave Fishwicks up in the north.
My wife might not think the same.
No, probably not. But,
Mrs. F.
But those that have done everything they can to create wealth in order to be able to help those less advantaged.
Yes.
Now, one of the questions about this budget is the extent to which it can support the strivers and people like you that have managed to give so much back. I mean, isn't that one of the problems here?
Yes. What I'd like to see, I mean, they have put 750,000 people in a position where they do not have to pay the taxes on the buildings, especially places like restaurants and pubs and bars. So 750,000 people do not have to pay the rates, the commercial rates on buildings. That is a brilliant one. That's something that people write to me at the Bank of Dave a lot and say, you know, commercial business rates needs to be looked at. That is a start. I love apprentices. I started off life as an apprentice. I was a builder's labourer on £40–50 a week. You know, that is so important. And they've put thousands and thousands of apprenticeships out there. So this government has looked at people as people, and I've tried very hard, and Darren was doing a good job yesterday.
No.
So, look, Rachel Reeves just has said that the wealthiest will pay the most, an eye-grabbing mansion tax measure. And we were chatting to the people of Cole,
Yes.
your mates,
Yes.
and wanted to see what they had to say about that.
Have you got £2 million mansion?
No, love.
Because they're
I live near him.
they're putting
Right away.
they're putting a tax on mansions. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's about time.
I like the mansion tax.
Yes.
I think that's a lot fairer.
It depends, really, and it doesn't people to stay in this country and keep the money in this country either, because all that's going to happen, how many more people are going to live in Dubai?
So, you're a businessman. You've made a bubble too, haven't you? What do you think? Would you be happy to put that on your shoulder? What do you feel about this?
I have a big house.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to pay the mansion tax.
Are
now,
you?
Yes. Turkeys don't vote for Christmas, but I'm voting for that. It's no good me saying do this, this and this, and then not agree with putting it onto the broader shoulders. However, I don't want to pay more than my fair share when the others aren't. So some of the massive corporate companies are just not paying their share. We've got a local cafe close to me, next to Pendle Hill. People go up down Pendle Hill, then pop in the cafe and use the bathroom for a wee. They don't buy a cup of tea. You cannot expect that cafe still to be there if you're not going to pay for a cup of tea and a bacon butter sandwiches. So I'd like to see these big corporate companies, the big banks, have a levy on them and pay their share to be able to use a safe country like Britain. So that's what it's about. I don't mind paying my share. I don't mind the mansion tax.
And the whole budget has been criticised as putting pressure on the working man, and they're the ones footing the bill for a lot of these things. You're an absolute advocate of the working man. What do you make of that?
There's plenty of women as well.
And business don't like it as well either, and you're a businessman and you know all about that. So what do you think? Yeah.
What do I think about...
Man and woman, you're right. That was a bit of everyday sexism by me, and I'm happy to have my knuckles wrapped by you, Dave. Yeah.
So I think it's really important that we encourage business. I think when they say about, you know, paying people a little bit more with this minimum wage, do you know what? I like that idea as well, because you're putting money into young people's pockets. Who's going to spend it in the economy? The government need to make it so businesses are profitable, so young people and everybody else can be paid a living wage.
Yeah.
You know, there does need to be a net for people to fall on, to then bounce back up to contribute to society, but they don't want to be lying on the net. It needs to bounce them back up into helping out.
And you'd agree, incentivised into work?
Absolutely. You know, people need to work. I need to work. You know, we all need to get up in the morning and go to work. You don't want to watch somebody out of your window in their pyjamas watching you go to work and then come home and they've got a car on the drive and a house same as you.
Yeah.
Everybody has to do their share.
Dave,
Well,
you
thank
speak
you.
a lot of sense, and I'm sure a lot of people would agree.
Listening to the Bank of Dave.